their souls rest in eternal peace. Amen. Honorable members, I put this communication to come after the other orders because many members asked me to give them an opportunity to eulogize their colleagues. I'll allocate 1 hour to this from now to 4:15, and each member who gets an opportunity will have a maximum of 2 minutes. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me to join you in condoling with the families of the late CHEPTUMO and the late Malulu Ijendi. Honorable Speaker, I happen to have joined this House at the same time with the 2 members in the 11th Parliament, and I can attest to what you have said in your communication, that the 2 honorable members, the Senator for Baringo and the member for Malava, are indeed very dedicated public servants and leaders in their respective constituencies. Honorable CHEPTUMO, Honorable Speaker, when you represented Baringo North and served in this House, serving all the way as the chair of the Delegated Legislation Committee.
Order. This is a solemn moment where we have lost 2 of your colleagues at the same time. I would expect that you give it the solemnity that it deserves. Go on, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I was saying Honorable CHEPTUMO served also as a member and later chair of the Delegated Legislation Committee, and served with a lot of diligence as a chair of that committee, and those who were in the 12th Parliament with us, we remember the dedication with which the Honorable CHEPTUMO served this House as chair of the Delegated Legislation Committee, considering numerous regulations for approval in the House, and did so with a lot of intellect. Honorable CHEPTUMO, Honorable Speaker, happened to be a very good lawyer, and I was privileged, Honorable Speaker, to learn later after I served with him here that he had also worked with my wife, who was then working in the bank, and CHEPTUMO happened to be in one of the panels for that bank. And my wife attested when we finally met at some point somewhere together with Honorable CHEPTUMO. She attested how diligent Honorable CHEPTUMO was in conveyancing, and how much even those who worked in the bank trusted the work of the late Honorable CHEPTUMO, and is indeed a great loss, not just to his family, to the people of Baringo County, especially the people of Baringo North, whom he represented in this House for 2 terms as a member of Parliament, but also the greater people of Baringo, who he served as their senator. It is sad that we have lost him at a time when the people of Baringo needed him the most. Honorable Speaker, I was privileged to have served with Honorable Malulu Ijendi from the 11th Parliament, when we first joined this House together. And Malulu, the late Malulu, Honorable Speaker, again is a leader who exemplified himself as a servant, true servant of the people, and a true believer. Honorable Speaker, many members will bear me witness that the late Malulu never left his rosary wherever he went. And those who have served with the late Malulu in this House, those of the Catholic faith, will remember that Malulu Ijendi at all times had his rosary with him. And many of us nicknamed him Bishop. And indeed, where he used to sit, just behind where Donna Boykana is seated, he had a permanent position there. And every time as we walked out, we would say hi to him and call him Bishop. And he's indeed a great loss, not just to the people of Malava, his family, but to us as a nation. The late Malulu Ijendi was not just a true believer, but also a dedicated educationist. As a former teacher, he moved on to serve as our vice chair of the Education Committee, and the chair of the Education Committee will tell you the dedication.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Junet.
Mr. Speaker, I stand to condole with the family of the departed members of Parliament, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am known to Honorable Njendi Malulu, Mr. Speaker. We came in the 11th Parliament, I think, together to this Parliament, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, he was a very dedicated servant of the people and somebody who has spent most of his time in his constituency, Mr. Speaker. He was rarely in Nairobi, Mr. Speaker. Any time he had in his hand, Mr. Speaker, the member spent with his constituents, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker is a man who knew what he was doing. Because, Mr. Speaker, the love Honorable Njendi Mululu had for his constituents, Mr. Speaker, was immeasurable. I remember during the elections, Mr. Speaker, we were campaigning and we had a candidate as a party against him, Mr. Speaker. But when we visited the constituency, we were told categorically that the most popular person in this constituency is Malulu Njendi, Mr. Speaker, as an individual. You know, on whichever party he contests, that is the information we were given on the ground. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask God to stand with his people, Mr. Speaker, at this trying moment. And Honorable CHEPTUMO, Mr. Speaker, also, we were together with him in this house. He was a very dedicated servant, Mr. Speaker, of the people. He was in the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, and we benefited as a house, Mr. Speaker, immensely from his knowledge of the Constitution and the law, Mr. Speaker. I served with him in Parliament, served with him in the House Business Committee, and Mr. Speaker, those are servants of people who have left us, Mr. Speaker, at a time when Kenyans really require their service, Mr. Speaker. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I condole with the family, and may God rest their souls in peace, Mr. Speaker.
Nelly.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you. Honorable Speaker, I want to take this time to condole with the family of our two honorable colleagues, Honorable CHEPTUMO and Honorable Moses Malulu Njendi. Honorable Speaker, we came to this house with Honorable Malulu Njendi in 2013, and as my colleagues have said, he was a very humble, very diligent, very honest, very religious, and a good educationist. I served with him in the 11th Parliament as a member of the Committee of Education, where we were led ably by Honorable Sabina Chege. During that time, Honorable Malulu Njendi gave us his mind on educational issues, ranging from the primary school education all the way to university. Honorable Malulu Njendi, Honorable Speaker and members, he was a man who actually loved his constituents a lot. He didn't fail to go to his constituency every weekend, every month. And at all times, he served these people with a lot of diligence and integrity. He was a man who really built many schools, many colleges, and many institutions in his place. Honorable CHEPTUMO is a senior member in this house. He mentored us. We found him. He was a member of Baringo North from 2007 all the way to 2013 when he came in. As young legislators, CHEPTUMO took us with a lot of humility and taught us parliamentary legislative processes. As a member of the delegated committee and also as a member of several other committees, we learned a lot from the two members. May the good Lord rest their souls in eternal peace. Asante sana. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to pay tribute to the Honorable Malulu Njendi, Moses MP Malaba, Kakamega County, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Malulu has been a good friend, very close and a relative, Mr. Speaker, a man of humility, down to earth, Mr. Speaker. Being a relative, Mr. Speaker, despite the age group, Mr. Speaker, Malulu has always called me uncle since he's married from my clan, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I and Mr. Malulu in political trajectory took the same path in 2017, Mr. Speaker, when we found ourselves in corridors of justice, Mr. Speaker, defending election petitions, Mr. Speaker, in the High Court in Kakamega. Despite that, we also won, both of us, and Mr. Speaker, at 2022, Mr. Speaker, we are re-elected the third time, Mr. Speaker, with the Malulu Njendi. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Malulu Njendi, the MP Malaba, has transformed education in Malaba, both infrastructure and learning, Mr. Speaker, in Malaba constituency. Mr. Speaker, I wish to take this chance, Mr. Speaker, on my own behalf and on behalf of people of Ikolomani and Kakamega County, to eulogize with the family and pass my condolences to the people of Kakamega for losing such a leader, Malaba constituency. Mr. Speaker, also losing a committed leader who has transformed and left a legacy in Malaba constituency, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've had the privilege of interacting with Mr. and Ms. CHEPTUMO as legal practitioners long before he joined politics, Mr. Speaker. And I found him as a brilliant legal practitioner who was down to earth. I also had the privilege of being with him in Parliament from 2007 as a representative of the people of Baringo North, and then later on, right now, he was serving as a senator. Mr. Speaker, death is a must. We as a Muslim, we always say, "Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut." Every soul shall test death. It's a must. It's only the owner who gives and who knows when to take away. And therefore, all of us must be ready to submit to the will of God when we live, so that when we go down, we'll be welcomed in the bounties of heaven, Mr. Speaker. I know Mr. CHEPTUMO will be missed by many friends. Mr. Speaker, I have also interacted with Mr. Njendi and found him a man who was carrying the rosary. In my culture, Mr. Speaker, when you see a man or a woman of God always blessed with a rosary, it's a sign of forgiveness. It's a sign of atonement. It's a sign of asking, look, you always appreciate the omnipresence of God around you. And I know truly in Mr. Njendi and Mr. CHEPTUMO, the people they have represented will greatly miss them. But the only thing that we can do, I want you, as our head, to give them a dignified and decent enough. That is the only way we can also remain true to the office they offered to the respective electorate. Thank you, sir.
Sabina Chege. Sergeant, can you check the system is malfunctioning? Sabina Chege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to offer my condolences to the people of Malaba on behalf of Honorable Njendi and also the people of Baringo County. Mr. Speaker, both members have worked with them, and I worked with Honorable Njendi on 11th Parliament, where I chaired the Committee on Education. He was one of the greatest supporters who contributed immensely in education. Mr. Njendi, Honorable Njendi, was also a lecturer and a person who also loved the Catholic faith. We will all remember him wearing his crucifix, and he was a very humble man. Mr. Speaker, Mr. CHEPTUMO, I also served with him at the 12th Parliament, and also when now he was a senator. And I would also want to pass my condolences to the people of Baringo County and also his family. And I just want to say one word, Mr. Speaker, that as leaders we should know that life is not permanent. As we make decisions, as we work together here in the House, let us not carry heavy burdens, and let us serve the people, because God has appointed us at a time like this and nobody knows about tomorrow. So to the people of Baringo and Malaba constituency, I personally wish them God's grace at this time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Maklap.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me join you in paying tribute to our late Senator William CHEPTUMO, who passed on 16th. So, Speaker, first I want to endorse that whatever you read is a true position and life of Honorable William CHEPTUMO, our Senator and our immediate former member of parliament of Baringo North, a man that I took over from in 2022. Mr. Speaker, I want to make it known that Senator CHEPTUMO is not only a senator of Baringo, he was actually my maternal uncle. So, Mr. Speaker, I have lost a jomba in myself. A man that is fast in many things. Mr. Speaker, Honorable CHEPTUMO went to school too late. Those of us, Mr. Speaker, who are not born in hospital and who lived in rural areas, Mr. Speaker, went to school too late. You could see, Mr. Speaker, CHEPTUMO written 57 years ago. Mr. Speaker, the true position is not 57. We always choose the date of Christmas when Jesus was born as our birthday for those of us who are not born in hospital, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this man did a good job in Baringo North, Mr. Speaker, and I have made, Mr. Speaker, give me an extra minute, and I have ensured, Mr. Speaker, that whatever CHEPTUMO started in Baringo North, we were able to complete, Mr. Speaker, within the shortest time possible. Mr. Speaker, because of no time, Mr. Speaker, I wish to also inform members that Honorable CHEPTUMO shall be laid to rest in his home in Bartabwa on 1st of March, Mr. Speaker, and there will be a requiem mass on... Okay. Allow me just... On 27, Mr. Speaker, there will be a requiem mass in AIC Mlimani for our late Senator William CHEPTUMO, Mr. Speaker, and I've also known Mr. Ichendi as my registrar in Catholic University of Eastern Africa, Mr. Speaker, where I started double mathematics, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, may their souls rest in peace, Mr. Speaker, and thank you.
Nabii Nabwera.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to condole with the families of CHEPTUMO and Honorable Malulu Njenti. Mr. Speaker, Honorable